Good evening and welcome to this Royal Mile Whiskies tasting. Although not whiskey tonight, we are tasting Calvados, this noble French spirit made in the Normandy region of northern France since about the 16th century, I think. And we are tasting the Calvados of Pere Magloire, one of the probably the most prominent Calvados producer in the world, itself founded in 1821. So before I bring in the Cellar Master Jean-Luc Fossey, it's worth just doing a little bit of housekeeping, how it's going to work tonight, because there is also an end goal. Many of you have bought miniature packs, which is great. You'll be able to taste along. We are going to start with Pere Magloire VSOP, and then we are going to try 3 different cask samples that are still sitting in cask in Normandy. And it is effectively the VSOP, but it has been further matured in 3 different Scotch whisky casks. And I have committed, Royal Mile Whiskies have committed to immediately people have voted on their favourite tonight. That cask instructions are going to be sent to France, and they're going to bottle it and ship it over in time for Christmas, which is good going. So that is our goal, but also to learn about Calvados. So don't worry if you don't have the miniature packs at home. I'm sure you're going to learn an enormous amount, as will I, because I know plenty about whiskey and a few other drinks, but Calvados is not one of my specialities. So I'm really excited to learn a little bit more. So I'll bring Jean-Luc in pretty soon, but I thought before I did, it was just worth showing you a map of Normandy. So you can see northwest France on the coast there, just inland at a place called Pont-l'Evêque. And as I say, it is a spirit made with apples at its base, fermented into cider, and then distilled. We'll see some pictures of the stills later on, but of course matured. It's a matured spirit as well. And we are lucky to have Jean-Luc Fossey, who is the cellar master, whose job is to oversee quality at this place and watch these casks grow and develop, and then ultimately blend them and knit them together to make the final delicious Pere Magloire product. So I would like to introduce Monsieur Jean-Luc Fossey.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jean-Luc. How are you this evening?
Yes, I am. It's very happy to see and to show with you.
Yes, and I think this is the first time you've done an online tasting with Pere Magloire.
Oui, Simon, tu peux traduire?
Oui, bien sûr. Je crois que c'est la première fois que tu as fait une dégustation sur l'Internet, comme ça.
Exactement. Et,
Okay.
Exactly. And my speak English is an student speaking, and I'm very glad if you don't understand me.
Okay, no problem. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, we do have a plan. I speak a bit of French. Jean-Luc Fossey, he speaks pretty good English also. So we will, if Jean-Luc is struggling to think of the words in English, he'll say them in French. I will translate them. But if I get stuck, we have a backup plan. Salut, Simon.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. So Simon is going to hide in the background and he's watching. And if we get stuck, we can bring Simon in to translate. But j'espère que tu peux rester tranquille toute la soirée, Simon, relax. Mais sinon, je vais appeler, okay? So hopefully we won't need Simon, but he is there in the background if we do get stuck with some language elements. Okay, so maybe see you later, Simon.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, cheers. Okay, so I think for people at home, it's worth saying before we start the conversation please feel free, if you have Pere Magloire VSOP, please pour it, start smelling, start tasting, and in maybe a few minutes, Jean-Luc and I will come and talk about the flavor as we taste it. But Jean-Luc, it all starts with apples. Tell me about the apples. Are there many different types of apples you use at Pere Magloire?
Yes. For making the Calvados Pere Magloire, we use a lot of variety of apples. In Normandy, there are a lot of variety. There are more hundred of different variety of apples. And this apple is in 4 families. The first family is acidic apple, and a bitter apple, and bittersweet apple, and a sweet apple. For making the Calvados for the cider, we use a sweet apple and a bittersweet apple.
Mm-hmm. And so here are some lovely pictures of the orchards. So you make a cider from these different types of apples, and the blend is different. Is the cider that you make similar to French cider that we drink?
No, it's different. It's different. The cider for the drinking, it's a cider special with a fruity note and acidic note for the freshness. For the cider from the Calvados, for example, it's very different. We decide to make a bittersweet and bitter and dry apple for making a special note for the future Calvados. It's very different. Mm-hmm. The cider to make the Calvados, it's very straight, no sugar. The totality of sugar, it's transform. It's transform. You know, it's transformed in alcohol. For example, a cider of distillation have 6% of degree maximum.
Okay, so 6% alcohol maximum.
ABV for the cider of distillation.
Okay. And you said very straight. Is that like sec? C'est assez sec aussi?
Très sec. Très sec.
So very, very dry.
Yes, very, very dry.
Okay, interesting. And so this cider that you have made, you then distill. And what type of stills, what equipment do they use in Calvados?
For making Calvados, we have a possibility to use 2 different stills. For example, for the Calvados AOC in a single distillation, we use a column stills. And for the Calvados Pays d'Auge, we use a pot still for double distillation only.
Comme ça?
Yes, voilà. It's very, very strict to the law in Normandy. This is, for the different appellation, this is a type of still who decides this is a Calvados AOC or this is a Calvados Pays d'Auge.
Okay, so one type is column stills.
Yes.
And one type is the pot stills.
Yes.
Okay. And after the column stills distillation, how strong is the spirit that you make? And how strong is the spirit from pot still distillation? Vous comprenez?
Non.
J'ai demandé la fortesse de l'alcool avec les column still contre la fortesse de... Ou c'est la même?
It's the same. It's the same.
Okay.
For the law, for making the Calvados, we are obliged to making a Calvados at 72 degrees maximum.
Maximum, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so 72%.
72 maximum. And in general, each producer distill at 70% ABV of degree of Calvados.
And the character of the spirit from the column stills and the pot stills is very different, I imagine.
Yes, there are a little difference for the young Calvados. When the Calvados aging, this difference is very large. For example, the Calvados produced in single distillation in a column still. This is a Calvados are a fresh Calvados and very hyper Calvados and a freshness. To compare to the pot still on a double distillation, we obtained a Calvados to more roundness, more complexity.
Okay, I see.
It's clear?
Yeah, it's very clear, très clair, merci. The stills are such crazy shapes. Pour les Écossais, the stills are bizarre. the shape, with it's a ancient design. It's a very old design. These stills.
Yes, this is a very old design. La forme.
Shape, form.
The shape of the parts of the pot still, it's very important to make a flavor, capture flavor when the distillation.
Okay.
For example, if the shape is more droit, more straight, we have a totally different aroma in the Calvados because the form of the shape is roundness. We make a complexity note in the Calvados. We kept a different aroma with the shape of the pot still.
Okay, fascinating. So then you have your spirit, which is totally clear. Totally clear, très clair. And you add some water just to take the strength down, I think. And then to cask.
It's very important to decide, reduce the degrees just after the distillation. For example, for the Calvados Pere Magloire brands, we decide to reducing the Calvados just after the distillation. We produce at 70%, and I reduce at 50% or one step, just after the distillation. It's very important.
Je peux demander en français, pourquoi immédiatement après? Et combien de temps après?
Alors, je vais expliquer en français là.
Ouais, ça va.
Je pars du principe que le Calvados peut rester dans un big vat pendant plusieurs semaines avant d'être mis dans des petits fûts, a small cask, pour le démarrage du vrai vieillissement. Donc, à partir de là, on peut stocker le Calvados dans ces grandes cuves sans modification importante du profil aromatique et de l'apport de tanin. Donc là, il est facile de réduire le Calvados rapidement Et on va faire juste, on va modifier l'équilibre entre l'éthanol, parce que le Calvados, si on reprend le côté chimique, c'est de l'éthanol d'un côté avec d'autres molécules et de l'eau. Donc à 70% d'alcool, on a 70% d'éthanol, 30% d'eau. Si on fait varier l'équilibre, en fait, il n'y a pas d'incidence au niveau aromatique. Et là, donc, la grosse partie d'eau qui va venir s'ajouter sur le Calvados va effectivement devenir du Calvados. Et à partir de là, on va pouvoir la mettre à vieillir en même temps que le Calvados. Donc, cette grosse partie d'eau-là aura les mêmes qualités organoleptiques que le Calvados lorsqu'il aura passé son temps en fût.
Okay. Simon, I need you. I got most of it, but my brain was hurting a little bit.
No,
so I asked why was it important to quickly reduce the Calvados spirit before it was put into cask. So it goes into big casks or tonneaus, probably a bit like the ones behind you, maybe. And then he's taking the alcohol from 70% to, did he say 60 or 50? 50%. And the reason was a flavor reason, an organoleptic, because how it performs in the cask is then different if it's up at 70%. Can you explain?
Yeah, no, just to sum up what Jean-Luc said, the sooner you blend Calvados with water, the sooner this water will become Calvados. So the sooner the tastes will the
integrate.
The water will be integrated into Calvados.
Interesting. So if you wait longer, it doesn't integrate as well.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I've never heard them talk about that with whiskey, with barley spirit, that you need to reduce it quickly. I wonder if it's because it's a fruit spirit. But
yeah, maybe after Jean-Luc said that it's Pere Magloire signature of doing that. I don't know if
I didn't hear that. I lost that. No.
Yeah, I don't know if other Calvados producers do like that, but that's a process that created Jean-Luc many years ago.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Simon. That's really, really interesting. Thank you, Jean-Luc. Je comprends maintenant. So
it's very important to reduce just after the distillation for keep the fruit aroma in the Calvados. It's very, very important. The Calvados, it's a spirit of apple. It's totally different to compare, for example, to a spirit of wine. It's very, very different. The composition, the chemical composition of the Calvados, it's totally different. It's the composition chemical of the cognac, for example. So the aging, it's very different. Compare Calvados and compares cognac.
Fascinating. Because I asked Simon if it was something to do with fruit rather than barley or cereal. So it's because it's a fruit.
Yeah. We keep the fruit and you conserve the fruit with this process, for example. It's very, very important for the Pere Magloire Calvados brands. Very important.
Okay. And how long after distillation? You said quickly. How long?
Between 2 or 3 months after the distillation. It's a very short time. Very, very short time.
Okay. And then we take the spirit and we're putting it into casks.
Yes, small barrels.
Yeah. And they are small barrels, you say, smaller than this.
This is this in the for example, in this picture, this is in France a foudre. A foudre food. These barrels to contain about 1,000 liters for the small cask and 10,000 liters for the big cask. For the aging, for the starting of the aging, we use a small barrels. This is a French oak barrels with a capacity of 400 liters only. This is a standard for the aging of Calvados Pere Magloire.
Okay, so a little bit bigger than the casks behind you, but not much bigger. The cask behind you.
This is a small cask. This cask, one cask has a capacity of 400 liters only.
Okay. And then the Calvados is aging, and you are slowly adding water and reducing a little bit.
And after the first reduction is big, an important reduction, the future reduction is step by step, low and low. For example, for reducing at 50 degrees at 40 degrees, we have 5 steps and 5 months to reducing this Calvados. It's very important.
So if I can summarize, you are saying you are doing it bit by bit, just small bit. So from 50% alcohol to 40% alcohol, which is bottling, is about 5 months and little by little, minimum. Yeah.
Minimum.
By little. Okay.
For example, each reduction, we have a minimum 1 month on each reduction. Okay.
And it's I understand. And your job is as maître de quai and maître de chai, and to blend, to choose casks and blend together to make the different range of Pere Magloire. So we have VS, we have VSOP, we have XO. Tonight we are drinking VSOP.
Yes.
Santé.
Santé.
Cheers.
Santé.
Tell me how you put together, how you fait l'assemblage, do the blending of Pere Magloire VSOP.
Alors, for the making blend, we decide to make a blend for the VSOP, for example, after 2 years of aging. The specialty of Pere Magloire brands, it's each year we make a new batch for remplacer. I don't know, remplacer.
Replace.
For replace.
Yeah.
The whole batch.
Yeah.
Je vais le faire en français pour être plus clair. La spécialité de notre maison, c'est de créer chaque année des nouveaux assemblages qui viendront remplacer ceux qui sont en cours de mise en bouteille. On ne prend pas
I'll do it bit by bit. So the speciality of Pere Magloire as a house is to each time completely do a new batch to replace the one before. Okay.
Yes. Je ne reprends pas un pied de Calvados existant sur lequel je vais remettre de nouvelles eaux de vie pour faire perdurer le goût. Chaque année, c'est une nouvelle recette qui viendra remplacer à l'identique la recette existante.
Okay, so you don't take a bit from the previous batch and put it into the next batch. You completely do a new one to a new recipe every single time.
And this method, it's the same method for the VS, for the VSOP, for the XO.
Okay. That To me, that sounds more difficult. Why do you do it like that? Pourquoi?
Pourquoi je travaille comme ça?
Oui.
En fait, ça fait partie de nos principes de fonctionnement. Alors déjà, premièrement, il y a... I'm sorry, I speak French. It's very important to certifier.
Certify, I think.
Certify the traceability of each lot.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the first step. And so each years, it's a new years for the variety of the apple, for example. We use a lot of variety of the apple each year for making the cider. And each year, it's a new year because the rain, the shining, it's very different between cette année and last year. So the quality of cider is very different between 1 year and other years. So we produce a different Calvados each year. So we decide to make a new recipe each year for making the same Calvados.
Okay. So you want to show the variation of vintage or année from time to time. Okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And we should move on soon to hear about the whiskey cask project. But before we do, and for the people at home who would have been enjoying the VSOP, what are you trying to create? What is the Pere Magloire house style? Vous comprenez?
Quel est le style de Pere Magloire?
Ouais, avec le VSOP, what is the goal? What are you trying to achieve? The style, the flavor?
The VSOP Pere Magloire is the fundamental of the range of Calvados Pere Magloire. This is the first of the double distillation range. This is the first of the aging. So the Calvados VSOP is the standard. When I want this Calvados, this freshness Calvados and the roundness Calvados. This is apple and a sweety apple in the mouth, and not aggressive. It's very, very light in mouth. And I make this batch of Calvados, this quality of Calvados for a large people. We can drink this Calvados on aperitif, for example, and we drink this Calvados and after the heating. It's possible. We dry this Calvados on the rocks. We dry the Calvados dry. It's very, very large possibility to drink this Calvados.
Yeah, I love the balance of crisp, young, fresh, but also mature, round, cooked, sweet apple flavors, and just a little bit of age, a little bit of cask, French oak on the palate. Yeah. It's balance. Yeah.
It's very, very important to it's hard to make and very important to the result. It's this type of Calvados. This is for me. This is a light of range. This is a light of range. This VSOP.
C'est super. Okay, so now we can move on to talk about the whiskey cask project.
Yes.
So I have some pictures here. Let me just see. Yeah, I think, and I'm curious as well. When I get my pictures ready, how did you become a blender? How did you learn to be a blender?
Je vais répondre en français.
Ouais, ça va, ça.
En fait, je suis pas tombé dedans quand j'étais tout petit, mais presque.
Ouais, toi? Non, ça va, c'est pas grave. C'est ta femme.
Non. Ma femme dort.
Ok.
En fait, j'ai commencé mon métier dans une petite société où j'ai appris les rudiments du métier, puisque je ramassais les pommes, je fabriquais le cidre, je distillais, je participais un peu aux tâches de chai, je faisais la mise en bouteille, voilà. Donc c'était assez.
So, when you were young, you worked at a smaller company and you learned all the skills of gathering apples, making cider, distilling. Yeah.
Alors, j'ai travaillé pendant 16 ans dans cette petite structure et en 2001, j'ai rejoint l'entreprise Pere Magloire, donc pour m'impliquer plus précisément dans le travail du chai parce que c'est ce qui m'intéressait le plus, et puis aussi pour seconder le maître de chai qui préparait son départ de l'entreprise pour la retraite. Hein. Donc, j'ai travaillé avec lui pendant 8 ans. Et puis, voilà, maintenant, ça fait 12 ans que je suis maître de chai de la maison Pere Magloire. Et en fait, le travail s'apprend, tout au moins pour nos générations, s'apprenait, comme on dit en français, sur le tas. En fait, la transmission du savoir se faisait d'un homme à un autre homme. Voilà.
Okay. So then you joined Pere Magloire and you learned from another cellar master previous to you, because a job like this, you learn on the job. You follow someone, they show you how it is done, and you learn from that person. I've understood correctly? Yeah, okay. So, great. So, and actually, I should say about questions, I should have said at the beginning, you'll see if you are watching, I can bring up people's comments. Bonjour, Marinette Richard. So if towards the end you have questions for Jean-Luc Fossey, you can ask them, and we will probably have time for a few at the very end to bring up. So ask your questions, I'll keep an eye, and we can bring them up on screen. J'espère que si vous êtes français, vous avez compris ça. Mais... OK, allons-y. The whiskey, or the whiskey casks. So tell me about this maturation project, because it's very unusual, I think, for Calvados to be matured in whiskey casks.
Alors, l'idée de faire vieillir dans des fûts à whisky est arrivée par le fait que j'avais une idée bien précise à l'origine, parce que je voulais faire fabriquer des fûts avec du bois qui avait séché dans la baie du Mont-Saint-Michel. L'idée première est arrivée comme ça.
Okay, so I'm going to show I'll translate and I'll show a picture, but first let's tell the people at home to pour the Speyside cask finish. So we've got 3 different cask finishes. We're going to start with the Speyside cask finish as we talk. And Jean-Luc, he said how the idea came from wanting to mature casks at Mont Saint-Michel, which is a famous and beautiful place off the coast of Normandy. We have St. Michael's Mount over in England, which looks pretty similar. Absolutely beautiful. I have been there, an amazing place. And Jean-Luc wanted to mature casks on Mont Saint-Michel.
Yes. So it's very long for this process, because when you decide to make a choice of barrels and aging the wood of the barrels in this place, At the Mont Saint-Michel area, there are minimum 3 years old to maturing the wood. And after you put the Calvados minimum 1 and 2 years in these barrels, so the result of 5 years old ago. It's very, very long and large process. To make a good result in a short time, we decide to select 4, 3, or 5 type of the barrels whose use making aging for the whiskey, Scotch whiskey. We decide to choose different lots, and we place this Calvados in these barrels, and I test this Calvados to 1 or 2 weeks per week. Okay.
Sorry, the last bit. You taste these barrels once or twice a week.
Yes.
Une ou deux fois par semaine.
Semaine, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
For the starting of this process.
So you're keeping a careful eye right at the beginning, tasting.
For understanding the exchange with the Calvados between the wood. So step by step, the time. Je vais vous la faire en français. Donc, le temps s'est allongé. Et donc, nous avons dû attendre quand même plusieurs mois pour ressentir les véritables résultats du procédé de vieillissement sur le Calvados.
Okay, so you had to wait a little bit longer to see the effect of the whiskey casks coming through, longer than you had predicted. Okay?
The idea, it's my idea. It's I research the yoli nuts and the principally in this Calvados. So if the different types of the barrels, we have one loaf of Calvados. It's very, very yoli nuts, and the other.
J'ai pas compris ça. Yoli nut.
Yod.
Oily.
Non, iode. Le côté iodé. Maritime, iodé.
Ok, attends. Simon?
Iodic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really, really niche word in English. Okay, so notes of iodine. So iodine. Okay, iodine. So flavors of iodine. Okay. Carry on.
So,
yeah.
On one lot, it's very iodic nuts, and on other lots, it's totally different. So I propose to compare the first lot and the second and third lots to understand the different nuts between the lots.
Okay. So when you say iodic, so iodine, I think of whiskies from the coast, from the seaside, but here we have Speyside.
Yes.
So not if for French people who maybe don't know Scotland, Speyside is vers le nord, but it's not by the seaside. So this is different. So there's not really these iodic or coastal flavors. It's more round, fat, fruity flavors.
Yes, in this lot, in this sample, we have a nose and major notes. It's the vanilla and the floral notes, and we have an apple notes. But to compare with the VSOP of the base, it's very different.
And how much time in the Speyside cask for this?
About 10 months.
10 months, okay.
10 months.
and a little bit spicy and nutty as well. In noisette, épices.
It's a very, very a candy nut.
Candy, yeah.
Candy nut. And you have a special flavor in France, crème brûlée.
Oh, yeah. We all know crème brûlée.
It's very nut of pastry. It's very, very pastry nut.
And I think it's okay for me to say which distillery it came from. I think you're not putting it on the bottle, but it's okay for me to tell people.
Yes, if you want, I can. This is the Tamdhu.
Tamdhu.
You know Tamdhu.
Yeah, I know Tamdhu very well. Very nice people.
It's very, very special type for the aging or for the finishing of the maturation. So, for example, on this sample, on this lot, the first time, it's no exchange. I saw, and je pensais, en fait, que je n'aurais pas de réaction. Parce que les premiers mois, il ne se passait rien du tout dans ce fût-là. Et il a pu attendre 7, 8, 9. Et plus on allait, plus ça montait crescendo. Et il y avait vraiment eu un effet d'observation, on va dire, entre le fût et le Calvados. Et à un moment, ça s'est déclenché. Et c'est toute la surprise et l'art du vieillissement, ça, en fait. On ne subit pas, mais on vit les choses au quotidien.
So Jean-Luc said, excuse me one moment. Jean-Luc said, initially when it went into the cask, a few months went past and nothing happened. And it sounded a little disappointed, I thought, Jean-Luc. And the time went past. And then I think you said 8, 9 months, then suddenly there was the reaction and you started to see the influence of the cask. And that's one of the nice surprises of following aging. There are surprises, which is fascinating to hear. Jean-Luc, there's lots of already very, very good and nice reactions from people, really surprised at the difference between the VSOP. And we should have said the base to all of these whiskies is the VSOP. So great comments. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for watching. Peachy and buttery, very similar to what you said, fruit and pastry, buttery pastry. You guys, the French, are the kings of buttery pastry. We love you for buttery pastry. So now we can move to Isla, I think. Yeah, that's okay, Jean-Luc, we move on?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So perhaps now we can play a little guessing game for people at home, because Speyside, we have a lot of distilleries in Speyside. In Isla, we have less distilleries, so it's narrowed down, so maybe people can guess. And this next one we're going to try is the North Isla. So there is a map of Isla, and if you look to the north east, some names that are difficult for French people to say. Buna Haven, and Kalila would be the two. So it's a 50-50 chance. Which one is this? Maybe people can guess as we go along. So this, I imagine, is more your plan. You wanted these coastal iodic notes, as you call them, and using an Isla whiskey, which are famous for these smoky coastal notes. I imagine we will find these a bit more.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So the third is the Buna Haven. It's okay for you?
Yeah. Oh, well, you told everyone now. J'ai demandé aux gens de vérifier, pas vérifier, what is it? Guess. Devinez. Devinez le distillery. Alors, c'est Buna Haven.
It's very different to compare with Tamdhu finish.
It's so different, yeah.
We have the first note. This is a floral notes. This is a white rose and a jasmine. This is a particularity of the Calvados. This floral notes and the white notes.
The whole atmosphere is lighter, plus légère, mais en même temps, il y a des éléments, surtout avec le goût, l'élément tourbé, l'élément fumé.
Beaucoup de fumée. The toasting note. It's
toasted, yeah, fumé.
Toasted note. It's a good balance with the note, the fruity note. It's not heavy. We kept the fruity on the not burning notes. It's not burning.
I'm starting to forget which language we are speaking now, as I have more Calvados. So I think, yeah. So I was saying that there's an element of lightness, but on the palate, this smoky, tourbé, peaty, fumé, other way around, I think. But element is very much there. But also, as you say, this floral. Is it the same amount of time in this Buna Haven cask? 10 mois or same time? So same batch of Calvados. Same cask.
For these three samples, this is the same time.
And do you know the cask for the Speyside, was that a sherry cask? And was this cask a bourbon cask?
This is the cask for the bourbon cask aging.
This one, I'm sure. But the Speyside, was that sherry cask?
The Speyside, I don't know.
Yeah, for me it feels like it might have been, but I don't know. It's if you don't know. Let's see what people are saying.
Sorry, it's difficult to have an originality of the products and after the Calvados. It's very difficult to say and to learn.
So Stuart thinks it's incredible taste, and I agree. It's this explosion of apple, but also an explosion of smoke. Murray guesses Kalila. Sorry, Murray. Or not.
Next time. For the next time.
You can guess. Yeah, you can guess. Ian's guessing Buna Haven. We've no idea if he cheated. Ladybug Cat Noir, antiseptic notes. Tu comprends antiseptic? Medicinal.
Medicinal, okay.
Medicinal. Ouais.
In French, antiseptics, it's not medicinal. It's antiseptic. It's chlore, le chlore, désinfectant.
Yeah, it's kind of the same word.
In French, antiseptique égale désinfectant. It's totally different.
Yeah, we use that word antiseptic as a description for Isla whiskies quite often. So
in French, it's medicinal notes. Medicinal
notes, yeah. So lovely buttery, nutty, smoky notes. That's interesting. Sean thinks the whiskey flavor is just starting to dominate the Calvados, but it's still delicious. There we go. Iodine, Jedicus. Hi, Jed. Yeah, okay. There's a slight earthy farmyard note on the peat at the end. Great. Some really great notes. Thank you. And Ian is reassuring me that he did not cheat. So I trust you, Ian. Great. Two very, very, very different drinks. The Speyside cask. Yeah, amazing.
For me, it's very interesting experience because when you place the Calvados in the different barrels, we kept a lot of different notes, but we kept on apple notes on the Calvados notes. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. So I think, wow, it is really interesting. There is so much of this peated barley flavor coming on. Romain Papillon congratulates you. It's interesting to see Calvados finished in whiskey barrels. Great move.
Thank you very much, Romain.
But there is an element that actually this is an experiment and it is not traditional. And as I understand it, you cannot call this Calvados once we bottle it legally. We have to call this eau de vie de cidre.
Yes, because today it's not possibility to decide to making finishing, making maturing in other cask of the French oak on European oak. In the law in France, in the law in Normandy, for the Calvados, we oblige to use a special oak. This is alors je vais le dire en français. Donc c'est chêne, donc oak, chêne sessile ou chêne pédonculé. Ce sont aujourd'hui les deux seuls chênes qui peuvent entrer dans la fabrication des fûts pour faire du vieillissement de Calvados.
Okay, so Simon, I got that he has to use sessile oak or is it peduncular oak? What's the word? It's gone for me. But he is restricted to the type of oak that he can use if he wants to call it Calvados.
Yeah, exactly. We have to use one of these two types of oak, and those oak have to be European oak. And at Pere Magloire, we only use French oak.
Yeah. Okay. And I think you use a combination of quite fresh French oak, but then also quite old French oak as well, where the casks have been used many times. Is that right?
I use a lot of parts of the new oaks each year. We sales. C'est ça, Romain? Simon.
Ouais.
We sell a lot of parts of the new barrels. So for a good aging, we decide to use a large part of the old barrels because I keep and I conserve the fresh note and the apple notes in the each and totality range of Calvados Pere Magloire.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So to keep that freshness of apple flavor, you use a little bit of older oak. And if you use only fresh oak, the oak would start to dominate the spirit.
Yes. The principal aromas for the fresh barrels, new barrels, this is the aroma of vanilla. This is a more and more aroma for this type of the barrels. And if you decide to place the Calvados a long time in the new barrels, after this time, we don't have a flavor note and the fruity note. We don't only woody notes. It's not the idea for the Calvados Pere Magloire.
Yeah, I understand. Simon, we didn't need you. He got that. So we'll see you next time. See you soon. Okay, so Well, we said about an hour for the tasting, so we should probably move on to the fourth sample, the third finish. So the guessing game, so they can deviner. Let's bring up the map again. So
I don't speak the origin.
Yes. Okay. So the red one we can ignore. That is Port Ellen. It is closed, although reopening hopefully this year or next year. So we have three very famous, amazing distilleries all in a row: Laphroaig, Lagavulin, and Ardbeg. Whiskey fans know that these distilleries are legendary, and our French friends, if you've not been to Scotland, you should come to Isla and you should spend a day visiting those three distilleries. It's an amazing day. Tu es déjà allé à Isla, Jean-Luc?
Non, pas encore.
Oh, you must come. Be my guest. They are amazing distilleries. Beautiful.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah. So those are our three. And again, the same base, the same amount of time in the cask.
Yes, it's the same time. And it's a new fragrance. It's a new aroma to compare the other taste. This is the same Calvados. So the nose, it's very, very different. We have a smoky notes and peaty notes on the first time. And you smell dry fruit and a nut fruit. It's more bakery. It's more cooked.
Cooked. Okay.
C'est plus cuit. En fait, les arômes sont plus cuits.
Okay, it's the same thing, yeah. So not fresh apple, more apple pie. Yeah, cooked apple. Yeah.
La bouche est plus concise. On a beaucoup plus de matière. C'est moins aérien. On a beaucoup plus de puissance en bouche.
One more time, répétez s'il vous plaît.
On a plus de puissance. En France, il y a un terme qui dit la mâche. La mâche, c'est le côté très puissant en bouche.
Okay.
Donc on a beaucoup de puissance en bouche.
Okay, so it's more powerful on the palate. It has more weight on the palate, I think we could say, probably. Really good. So it is still clearly a smoky Isla distillery, but somehow there's a bit more balance to it, I think, than the Buna Haven cask. I think somehow the smoke element and the apple element is kind of better integrated so far.
We have a licorice notes. It's very important licorice notes.
Licorice. Yeah, black licorice. Yeah.
Black licorice.
Bonkers but brilliant. How do I translate that for you? Well, brilliant, très très bien, mais un peu fou.
Oui. C'est un produit atypique, je ne sais pas comment on dit atypique en anglais, mais c'est un produit atypique.
Yeah, an atypical, a very unusual product, experimental, brave, courageous to do something a little bit different. And we have, tomorrow we have in England and in Scotland something called Bonfire Night, 5th of November, the 5th, and big bonfires and fireworks, feux d'artifice, and also apples are a part of the traditional. And this really makes me think of that fireworks, but also apples. It's this amazing combination. So interesting. Hi, Keiko. And she loves this one. Tom, the apples stay more on the palate in this one. I reckon this is ex-Laphroaig. There's enough of something in there to push me away from Lagavulin on this. And Ladybird Cat Noir is also saying Laphroaig. That's very interesting. Jean-Luc, do you want to tell everyone which distillery?
This is Laphroaig.
It is Laphroaig.
Yes. And this is a cask to 12 years old of Laphroaig after. It's very, very complex to aging in these barrels. So the second step, I decide to place in this barrel after the first empty. I put two different types of the new lots, and I decide to place on the old dust Calvados, old dust blends. I decide to place one single distillation aging of 12 years old, and the second batch is double distillation and 10 years old. And in the moment, this is the starting of the new aging in this barrel of Laphroaig. So I have a result about in June 21.
So people are already starting to talk about what they want to vote for, and the Space Side seems popular. Well, they all seem popular. I think the Laphroaig also. I mean, I like the fact that it is so clearly Scotland and Normandy. There it is.
It's very, very, very different between the three samples.
Yeah, which is what we want. That's so good that they have all turned out so differently.
And it's possible, and I have two favorites. The first favorite, Tamdhu.
Yeah.
The Tamdhu, because this is an elegant product. This is a feminine product. It's very, very fruity. It's very, very smoothie in nose. And the second product is the Buna Haven.
Not the Laphroaig.
Yes. Laphroaig, I like Laphroaig, but if you have my choice in this night, this is the Tamdhu and Buna Haven. I think it is different. This is my favorite in the moment.
Yeah, great. My the comments that we've got, what's really pleasing is people seem to be liking all three, but disagreeing with themselves which one is their favorite. And some people seem to be saying that maybe the smoky ones are too different to what they think of as Calvados. But I kind of think that's fun. I think I would probably go Laphroaig, Tamdhu, Buna Haven. But I like unusual things. I like to try different things. But it's not my choice. I tried all these three Calvados before, and a fourth actually. There was a Jura as well. And we chose three that were quite different, but actually ones that I would be happy for Royal Mile Whiskies and Drinkmonger, our wine shop, wine and spirit shop, to bottle and have our name on the label. I'm happy with all of them. So now it's your guys who are watching it. It's your choice. So all those people who got a sample pack, they should have received an email with a link to vote. And that vote closes tomorrow evening. Simon and I are going to be preparing a label depending on what you guys choose, and it will be bottled immediately and shipped over. So Tanya has said, how do we vote? There should have been an email sent to you, But at the end of this broadcast, we will put the link in Facebook and in YouTube as well. So in case you didn't get that email for whatever reason, you'll be able to get that. And I just saw, Tanya sees it in the email. She's okay. Tanya's, oh man, Arthur, where's the Jura one? Such a fan of that distillery. I'll be well up for that. I think I had, Tom, you live in Edinburgh or near Edinburgh. I have a little bit of the sample. You can try it. Okay. I think there was one question in there that I wanted to go back to, if you don't mind. While I'm looking, I noticed a lot of names of people who work in the bar industry and making cocktails. As I was doing this tasting, I realized there aren't many classic cocktails with Calvados. Maybe a sidecar, is that Calvados? It didn't seem popular when the classic cocktails were made up. Do you like it when Pere Magloire is mixed? Do you like its use in cocktails? And the second part to that question I had was food and Calvados with food. You are a nation of great cooks, great chefs, great eaters. How do you, and you normally drink alcohol with food. What are your combinations? Just while I look at these questions.
So for the first question, to confirm that the aperitif, for example, the cocktail, it's easier to make. This is VS and tonics. It's very, very freshness. We have a cocktail on freshness apple, and if you want, you can all those Calvados. You can make XO Pere Magloire, for example, for the old-fashioned make. This is a tool recipe. It's a sample recipe. For the cooking, for the restaurants, it's possible to drink the Calvados on the table. For example, we can drink a lot of Calvados with seafood, les huîtres.
Oysters. Yeah.
Yes. CBS with the oyster is very, very easy. And for tasting Normandy cheese, for example, we can heat the camembert with the XO Pere Magloire. Or Normandy cheese, this is another name, it's a Pont-l'Évêque. Pont-l'Évêque is the same name with the place of Calvados, its base. We can the XO Pere Magloire with the Normandy cheese Pont-l'Évêque. It's very, very fashion, easy. Okay.
So I've had Calvados. I've had Calvados and tonic. I like it very much. Calvados the cheese I've never had a Calvados old fashioned. That sounds great. And Murray reminded us of a Corpse Reviver #1. And there's lots of people seeming to vote. Luke Skipper, I've placed my vote. Vive la démocratie. So I think we have naturally got to our end of the tasting. But you did mention Pont-l'Évêque and what a beautiful place Normandy is. I haven't been there for a very long time, but you did want to say how welcome people were to visit. Maybe not this year, but certainly next year, because you have a center of Calvados production there. And a museum, I should say. Obviously, you have a center of production, but you have a museum that people can visit.
And the name of the museum is Calvados Experience by Pere Magloire. It's very a good place for understanding the démarche to starting of the apple and the finishing and the drinking a lot of Calvados. It's very, very important place.
Okay, great. And Catherine asks, of the range, which is your favorite? Which should she try next? She's tried the VSOP. Which is your favorite Pere Magloire expression?
For me, I like the VSOP for the aperitif, for drinking with the cheese, for example, and I like the XO Pere Magloire for the cocktails and for drink with the pastry. For example, un gâteau au chocolat. Gâteau au chocolat. Ou in Normandy, a tarte tatin. This is a cooked apple with the burnt apple.
Yeah, the upside down one. Yeah.
Tarte tatin with the Calvados XO Pere Magloire, it's very perfect.
Yeah, that sounds good. And Barry asks, we did cover this a little bit, but I had a question. Apple harvest vintage has a big influence on flavor. So there is variation from année to année in flavor because of climate with apples?
It's totally different to compare with the vineyards for the vineyard. In Normandy, the vintage, je vais faire en français. Le millésime en Normandie, c'est moins marquant et moins marqué pour la simple et bonne raison que l'on procède à des assemblages de Calvados. Si l'on devait... certains producteurs de Calvados en Normandie, effectivement, vendent et commercialisent des Calvados millésimés. Mais en fait, c'est difficile de faire un parallèle entre une très bonne année dans le vin et une très bonne année dans la pomme. Voilà, après... moi, je suis pas forcément partisan défenseur du millésime, voilà, en tant que tel, puisqu'il y a trop de disparités.
Okay, so if I can summarize a little bit, so Barry, yes, there are differences from year to year, but you can't look at it in the same way as we do with wine, because some of the variations are smoothed out by blending process. And while there are some small producers who release in vintages, it's not quite the same as you can say there is a good year for Chardonnay in Champagne, as you can say there was a good year for apples. It's different.
Et il faut aussi penser que la récolte de fruits va se dérouler sur presque 3 mois de récolte. Les premières pommes sont récoltées au mois de septembre, enfin à la mi-septembre, et les dernières seront récoltées début décembre. Donc, sur une longue période de ramassage de fruits comme ça, on n'a pas tant de différenciation d'une année à l'autre.
Okay, and again, the difference with wine is that harvest will happen quickly, but with apples, you get a longer period of time to harvest the apples. 3 months?
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. So again, the quality of the apples, I imagine, at the beginning of that harvest will have changed towards the end. So the flavor of the apples across that period are smoothed out, I suppose. Okay, very, very interesting. I think we're done. I think this has been a really fantastic evening, Jean-Luc. I have learned so much, not just about Calvados with all your knowledge, but also the evidence of your experiment, and a really successful and interesting experiment, which I can't wait to see what people choose in terms of voting for which cask to bottle, and to see those bottles over in Scotland very, very soon. So it's been a great honor. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much to have a possibility to explain my passion for this product, for example. And it's very important to me to explain this method to make the type of the new Calvados. It's very, very important.
Yes, and good luck with the rest of this project. I hope you do more of these whiskey cask finishes or other spirits. It's really, really interesting, and it's great to hear experts like you talking about Calvados, because we hear too little of it in the UK. So thank you again, Jean-Luc. It was
very much.
Great to meet you. And thank you, Simon.
Thank you for the organization.
No problem at all. And we'll talk tomorrow, Simon, about the label and get that all signed off and coming our way. So goodbye.
Bye.
À la prochaine. You can go and wake up your wife, Jean-Luc, and Simon, you can go and get some dinner. You've not had dinner yet. So
thanks.
Cheerio. Good night. So thank you, everyone, for watching. That was really, really great. I enjoyed that so much. I'll go now, but just to let you know, we do have another tasting next week on Thursday. Back to our comfort zone, whiskey, single cask whiskey with Berry Brothers and Rudd. Pot pack still on sale, including some really amazing single cask exclusives, a Ben Nevis that everybody is already really excited about. And also two really interesting guys, Johnny McMillan and Ronnie Cox, talking next Thursday at the same time. And there's also a little competition thing there. There's a mystery sample. You get to try that mystery sample. Everyone gets to guess the distillery. So we've kind of warmed up tonight a bit with that. And then the winner, whoever gets closest, will explain next week, but gets to win basically loads of really amazing whiskey. So 12th of November next week. And although the packs aren't on sale yet, I can announce we're going to have an Old Pulteney one on the 26th of November, including an exclusive single cask bottling of Old Pulteney for Royal Mile Whiskies, which we are really, really excited about. So that is 26th of November, and the packs should be on sale next week as well. So thanks, everyone. I've had great fun tonight, and we really appreciate you taking the time to tune in and listen to this great Calvados story. Good night. Bye.